think they've buried it. Look at this. Right, Steve, that is well sketchy. Ah, there we go. Look, there's the top.
As you may have already guessed, this week's video is a tunnel video based on your little adventures with Steve last week.
Yep, so we looked at the Leominster, no, it's the Leominster Canal, Leominster and Kingston Canal last week, and we saved the tunnels for a separate video, this one right now. There were 4 tunnels, 3 planned, but 4 that we can discuss in this video. And we're going to ask the same question that we asked in last week's video. Have a look at this image from above, courtesy of Google Maps. Somewhere here is the southwestern portal to the Southnet tunnel, which was 1,250 yards long. Can you see it as we zoom in? Steve and I looked for an hour and a half, gave up, and then walked back towards the car and pretty much stumbled across it by accident. We'll come to that in a second, but first of all, we just want to talk briefly about this week's sponsor. Our sponsors make these videos possible, along with our lovely patrons and members.
Now, really, we've been talking about for quite a few years. You probably have a hobby, and you could probably go down to the shop and buy about 4 or 5 magazines at a time each month, just to keep up with the news and what's going on with it.
Now, those magazines these days cost a minimum of £5 each. You could end up spending 25 quid plus just to keep up with your hobby. What if I told you that you could have that at the tip of your fingers for a fraction of the price?
Now, I've got a little rail adventure coming up, and I need to be up to date with what's going on in the industry, and also to keep me entertained on my little travels as well. So this could actually work quite well for me.
Secret screw about your rail adventure.
Oh yes, rail adventure. I can search up a huge amount of titles and even go through all the back issues.
It's pretty cool. The app is amazing. Now, winter is coming, and I'm never prepared when I go out walking. As you lot have probably seen, I just stick my jeans and trainers on and see what happens. But with this wonderful app from Readly, well, I can search up some of my favourite walking magazines, go through all the back issues and get loads of ideas to help me with my preparation for walking. At last.
Don't forget, it's all at your fingertips on your smart device as an app. And if you don't have any service or Wi-Fi, that's fine, because with Readly you can download titles beforehand.
Speaking of great features, another feature is you can have 5 individual accounts, so potentially no one in your family is going to miss out. There really is something there for everybody.
So if you use our link in the doobly-doo below, you can get 2 months free, and also you can cancel whenever you like. No hassle, no contract.
Happy days, but we won't be cancelling because we love Readly. Genuinely, we really love Readly, it's great. So, on to the tunnels, the 4 tunnels of the Leominster Canal, the abandoned tunnels, the amazing sketching at the... what?
I think he's getting a bit overly excited.
This is such a cool thing. So there were 4 tunnels planned on this route. Now we're going to use, again, Rail Map Online, the canal section, to help us guide on this journey. Now Steve and I went from the east to the west in that direction, and the first tunnel you'll come across when you're researching this is Pensax. Bit of a strange name. Apparently in Welsh it translates to head of rock. Steve and I didn't visit Pensax tunnel because it doesn't exist. Or at least that's what we thought before both of us did a lot of research sort of around this and after this. It was planned to be 3,850 yards long. That would have been longer than Sapperton Canal tunnel. It would have been the longest by a long way, I think, until at least Stanage came along. So over 2 miles long. We assumed it didn't exist. However, when you read some of the old newspapers and some of the reports, it turns out that they built a portal, they dug a portal out, and they dug a heading of about 80 yards and a tunnel about 60 yards. They built about 3 or 4 construction shafts as well for this.
They started it.
But they stopped. We'll come to the reason why they stopped shortly. However, Pensax tunnel then may feature as a video in its own right some point in the future if we go back up. A different story, yeah, because there's a whole load of old tramways around there, all of which we'll come to very shortly. Right, we're thinking someone's really gone to a lot of effort to block this off by a 6-foot fence. Unless, I don't know, Goodness, that's like a pheasant area. So let's get back to Southnett Tunnel. This is the second tunnel eastwards as you head along the canal. Now, let's get back to that image from above. Can you see it? Now, Steve and I spent an hour and a half in the woods looking for the tunnel. That's where we assumed it was due to a number of sources. It doesn't appear on the old map, so it's really difficult to tell. So I've got maybe, 45 minutes worth of footage from those woods, basically looking at a bunch of trees. I won't bore you with too much of that. Right, we still haven't found it, but I'm already loving this little explore because this is very, I don't know, it's like good old days of hunting for stuff that you don't know where it is, and you're trying to read the landscape and work things out, and we can't work it out. Suffice to say, it wasn't actually in there, even though we thought it was. Right, oh God, we think they buried it. We think the tunnel is buried, because I think it should be there, and it's not. Perfect line, soggy underfoot. I think it's been buried. So we headed back towards a car, assuming that this tunnel had now been filled in and completely gone for all to see. Wasn't the case. We headed across the field and now have a look on the image from above, and you'll see if I zoom in just here, well, we almost stumbled across this by accident. So we headed down the embankment here to this southeastern portal of Southnett Tunnel, 1,250 yards, and we began to see how dangerous this really was. Bricks hanging from the portal as if they were just held there by, well, willpower and nothing else. The actual keystone in the middle there, how that's still there, I don't know. This is incredibly dangerous, and we made sure that we didn't go underneath that sort of portal of the tunnel, let alone go inside. Now, in 1979, Country Life magazine ran an article on this tunnel, and they said that a couple of navvies were killed when the tunnel collapsed in 1796. That's a year after it was built and potentially in use. I'm not completely sure that's true, because general consensus said actually 2 boaters were killed in this tunnel. I don't think anyone's ever going to know, but either way, the collapse had crushed down on the boat or the navvies, and they were still trapped there to this day. That makes it sound like they're still alive 230 years on. Not the case.
Maybe they could be. Nobody knows.
So basically, at this stage in time, the collapse of this tunnel meant that it would no longer be connecting to where it was supposed to connect to, which is Stourport on Thames. Didn't happen, hence why Pensac tunnel, we've already mentioned, was probably not constructed or taken any further. John Rennie was subsequently called in upon this collapse, and please do an assessment of this canal, because Thomas Dadford's engineering was questionable, hence the collapse of this tunnel. The pictures that we can show you now from this tunnel, it's probably maybe 100 yards in, 150 yards before the first collapse. The walls themselves are bulging like nothing else. We always thought the Sapperton was quite bad. This is disastrous. It's just a matter of time before the walls again go. I reckon you've got 100, 150 yards before there's a collapse, and I would imagine all there along its 1,000-yard length there's probably even more collapses. The engineering really was questionable. On to the next tunnel. So we look at the second tunnel of the day, which is Nunam Tunnel, 300 or so yards long.
Yeah, very short.
Very short. Interestingly, it wasn't on the original plans, because the original plan said they needed 3 tunnels: Pensax, Southnett, Putnal. We'll talk about those as we have already done. Nunam isn't mentioned, right? Try Googling Newnham Tunnel, N-E-W-H-N-H-A-M, Newnham Tunnel, and there's very little on it. We know we're going to see something because we've seen pictures on the internet. We just walk along the side of the field and we've seen an embankment, and this embankment could well be side of the towpath of the canal, the cut. Yeah, 100% Steve, look at this. That's a really good find, because this is going to help us find the tunnel. It's going to help us find, oh look at that. We didn't know we were going to see this. Another gorgeous stretch of this canal, look at that. Really gorgeous stretch. So this will help us find the portal. It's probably not there anymore, but this side of Newnham Tunnel should be just down here somewhere. There we go. As a site of the abandoned Nunham Tunnel Northern Portal, or North, oh God knows which direction, North-Eastern Portal. Right there. And you can see nothing. So we thought, this is how sketchy, yeah, this is how sketchy the information is on Newnham Tunnel, because we assumed it's 330 yards, but it's not, because it's only 50 yards that way, and right here in front of us is the bed of the canal leading into where would have been the portal, somewhere down here. So we need to probably do a bit of digging here, Steve.
Yeah.
Ah, there we go. Look, there's the top.
So that's infilled quite some way then.
Oh, look at that. Quite easily do a cutting here.
Yeah.
So I wonder if this was an afterthought and a cut and cover. Now, Steve and I can see the tunnel. You can have a look at this portal as we're showing you now. And it's only 2 bricks thick. I don't think we're looking at the actual portal. I think it's collapsed maybe sort of 10 yards back in. But it's only 2 bricks thick, and it's about maybe 100, 150 yards long.
You did say it's not very much above it, though, didn't you, as well?
Oh,
so...
like 20 yards above it. So that would help, but you still need a lot of earth and weight above it to help with the arch. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's also a an interesting monitor in the tunnel. So when you look in, you shine your torch in, I'm assuming there maybe is a bat monitor. So we didn't stick around too long because we realised that there was probably a hibernation for bats, so we moved on. But nevertheless, if you know anything about Newnham Tunnel, why it was built, why it wasn't on the original plans, we'd love to know, because it still to this day remains a mystery. Putnal Tunnel, not easy to get to. Now when we go and do some research on these places before we go, we often drop people an email, the societies, the canal trusts. There's a Friends of Leominster Canal, and you can go and visit their website in the link below. They're not actively looking to reinstate this canal, they're just looking to look after it, the aqueducts, try and get the best out of it for the heritage aspect, which is brilliant. Putnal Tunnel, they said to us, do not go anywhere near the southern portal of Putnal Tunnel. Number one, you've got an extremely aggressive farmer who likes to carry a shotgun around. Ooh. And number two, it's also up to its eyeballs in water, so you couldn't even see it anyway, and it's extremely dangerous. Definitely. Steve and I had to walk about a mile to get to the northern portal, owing to sort of the park, and these are all sort of country roads where you just can't just stop and leave your car. Steve?
Yeah.
It's pretty dark in there.
It does. I think we found a tunnel already.
Yeah, I know the light's going because we're, you know, nearly in October. We probably will be in October by the time this is it. This is like a, look at this. I mean, I think I've over dramatised that a little bit, people, but these are that sort of thick conifer. I've led us up the garden path there, Steve, haven't I? We're lost. Right, from the map, I think we are above it, yeah, so we need to head that way safely, but we're out of sight now because we're slightly off the beaten track, but we think we're right above the canal, and I can see through there, covered in cobwebs. Yeah. Oh, look at that, we're right on top of it. Yeah. So this is it. Wow, easy find, to be fair. Heading away, hardly notice. So Putnal Tunnel was another criticism for John Rennie. He seemed to like to criticise a lot of canal building that we've seen in the past and we've come across. Nevertheless, he said this was pretty shocking engineering. Dadford himself said, well, this is purely because of the geology. It's extremely porous, the water's coming through, it's almost like sand, quicksand and that sort of thing. Despite the fact it's not that deep, so I don't know how much of an excuse that was. Again, you could almost do a cut and cover here, I feel, but he didn't, and it took them a few years to build this relatively short tunnel, 330 yards. Now, there's a few old YouTube videos where there's some people that have gone through it. I wouldn't advise that for a couple of different reasons. Number one, there is now a collapse, I think about 300 yards in, so the other portal, had you been able to get there, well, you've only got 30 yards plus about 10 foot deep water. This end not so bad, you've maybe got about a foot deep in water. However, as Steve and I found out to our demise, Steve put his foot in some of the mud and lost a welly.
Oh,
it's really, really it's really I didn't get it on film. It's really dangerous. The whole area, the whole portal
it's just so silty.
is so silty and saturated in water. We don't know how deep it is. I put a stick in and it keeps going. Not a safe area to go. So again, I wouldn't advise you do. You're not going to gain anything from it.
Just enjoy what other people have done.
Yeah, I won't be going back in a hurry to have a look at that. Right, from me and Steve and Rebecca at home, and of course the Putnal Northern Portal, which is as sketchy as you can imagine. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. And a big thanks, of course, to Readly, this week's sponsor.